Well, everybody, it is the weekend, and it's time to check in with Michael Snyder and see what's happening with movies and such. Hello, Michael.
Well, hello, Alex. It's that cool jazz sounding. I love that.
Anyway.
So we do the film thing, and it's another exciting weekend. We're heading toward the end of summer, and they've pulled out a few hopeful successes at the box office for your delectation, and some smart adult indie-style films, and those are all aimed at the eventual Oscar nomination. But, you know, they're hit and miss. What can I say? Let's start with Sin City, A Dame to Kill For. It's the sequel to the wild film noir, and it's an inspired adaptation of Frank Miller's Cops and Criminals graphic novel, or actually multiple stories that he did. And this is another example of them combining a couple of the Sin City stories into one kind of anthology of sorts, with interrelated stories featuring kind of caricatures of the film noir staples. So you've got Mickey Rourke as the tough guy with the heart of gold. You've got Jessica Alba as the bruised gal with heart of gold. You got Josh Brolin in this one playing, kind of one of those detective types that gets himself in over his head. Joseph Gordon-Levitt is, wannabe tough guy. Bruce Willis, who was in the first film as the sort of male lead, was killed at the end of that. Spoiler alert. But he's still in this film. Ava Green as a femme fatale. Could there be a better femme fatale than Ava Green? And there's a lot of other people involved. But this is co-directed by Robert Rodriguez, who oversaw the first film and has been working at his Troublemaker Studios in Texas to do a lot of heavily computer animated fantasy and action films. This is a whole thing for him where people act in front of the green screen, and he creates a world for them. And in the case of this Frank Miller-inspired thing, Miller is also the director here, or the co-director, and it's considerably better than his attempt to go it alone with Rodriguez's backing, which was his adaptation of Will Eisner's The Spirit, which I thought was pretty much a dud. This is kind of cool. If you like the first Sin City, it's so potent graphically, and in this case in 3D. And when you do animation, you can actually make the 3D much more vivid. So this mix of live action and animation worked for me on screen. I thought it was pretty entertaining. Maybe not as startling as the first movie they did along these lines, but I thought it was pretty cool.
Well, congratulations to you.
Why is that?
You're the first reviewer I've seen that liked this movie.
No, to me it was the same as it was an extension of the first one. And I have to say that even though it's pulpy, and even though it's basically a comic book on the big screen, I enjoyed it. Is it as good as the first one? No. And if you didn't like the first one, you sure as hell I'm not going to like this one. I thought that I was given a kind of a not a devil's bargain, but a Hobson's choice, if you will. It was either see this movie or go see If I Stay, which is a young adult soap opera starring the very talented Chloe Grace Moretz. And I thought I made the good choice when I chose Sin City 2. And I don't know that the reviews have been all that great for If I Stay either. In fact, I think they've been considerably worse than Sin City. But moving along, Are You Here was a major disappointment, with a lot of comedic talent up on the big screen, and a guy who maybe should have known better, writing and directing. Maybe he was out of his element. Matthew Weiner, the creator of Mad Men, decided to do this kind of goofy buddy comedy featuring Zach Galifianakis as a stoned loser, and Owen Wilson as a weatherman with a heavy pot problem, who get together to deal with the aftermath of the Galifianakis character's father dying. And it's a bit of a battle with his sister, played by Amy Poehler, for the guy's estate. And I have to say, I had high hopes, and it had brief moments of humor, and it sort of meant well, which is not really enough when it comes to comedy, but not funny. Are You Here? You shouldn't be there. You should be elsewhere. You should be in Sin City. I don't care what the other reviewers say. Love is Strange, on the other hand, is a very, very moving and effective and and sort of prickly and sweet movie about an elderly gay couple who are in crisis when they're forced by financial problems to stay with friends separately while they sell their place and look for more inexpensive housing. John Lithgow and Alfred Molina are just picture perfect as these guys. And Marissa Tomei is also in the film because the nephew of one of the guys and his wife and their teenage son offer their place to the uncle. And in this case, the uncle is the John Lithgow character, and Marissa Tomei is the wife. It's a very, very good film and rather moving. I mean, it deals with, our changing view of married life. It deals with the economic stress that even smart and talented people are dealing with. Maybe those guys more than others. And I thought that Love is Strange is going to be a good movie to watch in a theater if you want, but at home as well. And I think people should see it. It's actually directed by Ira Sachs and co-written by him. And, kudos to everybody. I kind of like the unexpected. So I thought The One I Love was right in my sweet spot. It's a very provocative mix of drama, romance, comedy, and some strangeness that truly unexpected. And it stars a very talented man and woman in an unlikely pairing that works. Mark Duplass, who is sort of the doughy king of the indies these days. He's a filmmaker and an actor, and he's been in a couple of my favorite low-budget movies of the past couple of years. He plays the husband. Elizabeth Moss, who's making great choices outside of her role on Mad Men, which is obviously wonderful. She was in the great miniseries Top of the Lake, and now she's in The One I Love as the wife here. Ted Danson is their therapist who suggests that they save their marriage with a vacation getaway. To say that things don't go as expected is an understatement. The One I Love, I hope people seek it out. It's very clever, and you might want to be patient with it, but it actually pays off, and I thought it was very, very cool. May in the Summer is cross-cultural angst as a woman from a mixed marriage, American and Jordanian, goes to Amman, Jordan, where she was originally raised, from her home in New York City because she's planning a marriage. And when she goes there, she's accompanied by her two sisters who are also quite Americanized, and they deal with their mom, who still lives back in Amman. And it's actually the work of a young woman, a writer-director by the name of Sherian Dabi, and really does a good job in this sort of thing. And the fiance that she's going to be marrying is played by the wonderful actor, the terrific actor, Alexander Siddig, formerly of Deep Space Nine. He was in Syriana. He's solid man. And the father, in this case, is played by Bill Pullman. Her sister, Leah Shawkat from Arrested Development. Maybe it's not going to be to everyone's taste, but I thought it was well done and earnest, and it was a peek into a world that we don't see much of, particularly when we have these, jihadist fears and the cross-cultural, disconnect. In fact, these guys are Christian Arabs, and one of the problems in this marriage to come is that he is a Muslim. And, there's problems along those lines, even internally. And I just thought May in the Summer was very well done. We'll wrap it up with two extreme documentaries, one visually stunning one called K2, Siren of the Himalayas, which is about an attempt to summit the world's most challenging peak, as they say. 100 years ago, the Duke of Abruzzi did a landmark expedition to K2 back in basically 1909. And some guys who have made their lives, they devoted their lives to mountain climbing, team up with a couple others, and they, take a wonderful video account of it. Really scary, cool. And the other movie, again, extreme, is Kink, which is a documentary about one of the most successful internet porn companies in the world, maybe the most successful, certainly the largest producer of BDSM content, based out of San Francisco. And this is actually partially the work of a gentleman by the name of James Franco, who just can't stop.
I don't know if he worked on it. I saw this thing, and I think it's one of the most mediocre documentaries, and it's almost as though it was made by someone who was an advocate rather than someone who's going in to find out about it. And
Entirely
I think it
possible,
is
yeah.
just a horrendously terrible documentary.
Well, I didn't think of it as a terrible documentary. I thought it was interesting, but I see where you might have some caveats as someone who's very familiar with the milieu. I just
No,
thought,
I just feel that as a documentary, if I didn't even know about the milieu, I would walk away from it going, "What is this, a commercial?" You know,
Well,
it's not a documentary, and all James Franco did was, put his name in front of it.
well, he's one of the producers. Christina Voros is the director. One of the things about the film that I found interesting is that it does seem to sanitize a little of the internal strife that occurs in this place. I know two people, one that had worked there for 3 years as an editor, and another one who's I guess a production assistant who works there, who's very much an advocate herself of it. And from what I know, you aren't going to get a clear picture of the stress in a situation.
Well, I
like,
also thought that it was just dull. It dwelled on moments and things that were happening that, could have been cut, edited, chopped down. It was a lazy documentary. It was just horrible.
Well, I didn't think it was just horrible. I didn't think it was great, but I did think it was pretty fascinating. And for people that aren't familiar with this world, it's sort of a peep into it. And when I say peep, I'm using the word advisedly.
But even by your own admission, it doesn't accurately portray it, and that's the problem. It's a documentary, and it should. Sometimes with a documentary, you do them, and you go in because you got an opinion about something, and you walk out with another one.
There wasn't much disgruntled bitching. Let's put it that way.
Well, you didn't have to have disgruntled bitching. I just didn't get a feeling of what the place was like. It's a horrible documentary, just horrible.
I won't use the word horrible, but there we go.
Anyway.
I'm Michael Snyder, and you can follow me on Twitter at Culture Blaster, and the Michael Snyder's Culture Blast page at Facebook. And let's wrap up with some TV stuff if you have any suggestions.
Not really, no.
Love The Honorable Woman.
Well, I like The Strain again. I think it's terrific. The Honorable Woman is terrific, but ends in a rather mediocre way.
Well,
but people won't be seeing that for a couple of weeks. And
I would say that's really again a matter of taste. I thought they ended the thing as he chose to end it, and it's not going to be to please everyone, but I thought it was good. Hey, Doctor Who comes back this weekend with Peter Capaldi as the latest actor to take the role. I'm kind of excited about it.
Are you?
I love him. I think he's great.
I think he's terrific too. The question is, will he be good as the Doctor?
Let's hope so. I'd hate to hear bitching. Well, I'm used to hearing bitching.
Yeah.
One more quick note. I still love Garfunkel and Oates, which is, I guess, on the IFC channel following singer-songwriters. They're pretty goofy and pretty cool. Yeah. I think that's fun.
Okay. Is that it?
I think so.
That's it. Hey, we'll see you in a couple of weeks then, because we're going to be taking next week off because we're going to have our rewind weekend. And you have a good time off, too, and a good holiday, Michael.
All right.
Thank
Vacation
you.
ahoy.
Bye-bye.